On your Takagi Marco M series slit lamps, they are LED units, and we're just going to talk over some general no light situations in case you're not getting any light. The M3 and 5 are the tower style. The M3 doesn't have background illumination. The M2s and M4s, you can put, some have background illumination, some don't. So we're going to look at a no light issue and see if we can troubleshoot these issues. I'm going to turn the lights off briefly and we'll go from there. With our lights off, do you have any lights coming on? How about when you plug in your power supply? Are you getting voltage? Do you have the little green light coming on? No green light, maybe you don't have voltage coming in. How about your fixation? Do you have any, does the light come on when you turn it on? Well, that means that's a good sign. You're getting voltage there. How about when you turn on your rheostat? Do you have any light there? That's a good sign. But if you don't have any lights, well, we need to investigate a little further. I'm going to turn the lights on and we'll go from there. Okay, with the lights back on, I'm going to have to access the little circuit board, relay board underneath. So take off these two screws and remove that. And is your cable plugged in? How about your connection? Is this plugged in? Here's your power supply plugged in that goes to the circuit board. Just make sure everything is registered. And you might want to check your voltage on your power supply. You should have 5 volts coming in between these two spots. You should be getting 5 volts DC. Now, this cable that goes underneath the base and then comes up and hooks up here, and it plugs into this first junction which is junction 1, and this third pin on the end, there's nothing there. It's these 2 pins that your voltage is actually traveling through the circuit, and when it goes through, it's going to go split off different places, but for the rheostat it's going to be this way, and then the background and illumination is this junction, J5. This is J1, this is J5. So without unplugging this, we can check the voltage coming in, see if your cable's good, there's no openings. And if we come over here to these points right here, the first 2 points, those are also voltage going from here. These 2 are going to go to your rheostat and come back. They're going to go to your rheostat. Your rheostat's going to change the voltage and come back, and the 2 lower. So we want to make sure we're getting 5 volts right here. These 2 points, 5 volts or somewhere around there. It's going to vary depending on if you have your rheostat turned on or not. So we would put our meter on 5 volts and check these 2 top points. So we're plugged in here. Let's see if we have something close to 5 volts. And the plus is going to be the top pin, and the minus is going to be the second pin. And over here on your background illumination, it's opposite. The plus is going to be down here, and the minus is going to be on the top. So these spots, you should be reading 5 volts. If your meter is accurate, and this is DC, I've got this on 20. Sometimes I have to put it on 200 because my battery's low or whatever. But I'm going to put that on these 2 pins and see if we have some voltage. Yep. Plus on top, okay. It doesn't matter, but if you want it to be polarity specific. Okay, I've got pretty close to 5 volts. So I know I'm getting voltage all the way to my circuit board, and it's going to my rheostat. So it's not an issue with the voltage coming in, but it might be something going on with your rheostat. If your light's not even coming on and you know it's connected, well, you might have to take this cover off to make sure your cables are plugged in to into your rheostat. See, this is where it's plugged in, but you have other points that you need to make sure everything is plugged in, even on your rheostat control board. So just because you're getting voltage there and the light's not coming on, well, it could be a bad whole thing, but you're going to have to take the cover off anyway, and it's going to be 2 screws here and then 1 underneath the joystick on the base to pull this cover up. But there's another video on how to do that. So that's a place you can check voltage, and then you can check voltage going to your background illumination. So on the J5 junction, you should be getting 5 volts here going to your background illumination. You can put your meter right there to touch those 2 pins. So we're going to do that. Something around 5 volts. And this time the polarity is going to be minus is on top. Okay, 4.93 volts. So we're good. We're getting voltage to our background illumination junction. So the circuit board might be good. Now there's another junction on the back. This is J9. This also receives those same voltages. If you see the top 2 pins, those see how they're lined up going to the pins over here. You're going to get your 5 volts there also. So if whatever's plugged into J9 That's how you would check the voltage on that, but it's behind this circuit board. So you're getting voltage there. Well, maybe you need to move forward. On the M2 and the M4 series, to go up further on the wire path, you've got to remove this cable, this cover. And to remove this cover, you have to go underneath here with your Phillips, and it's very close to this point. And you go straight down and access the Phillips right there. There's one on each side. So you have to remove the Phillips screw. It looks like this. Two of them, to be able to take this cover off. Now we have access to our cables that are going through the shaft. And one is going to the rheostat, and if you have background illumination, then it's traveling this way. So you have your background illumination still only has two wires, and you notice they're brown and red. The brown is hot and the red is negative, plus and minus. And then on to the rheostat, as it comes out, you have four wires. There's your brown and red. You have voltage going in, and it converts and comes back through the yellow and red. So you should be able to read voltage at these points also. So use your meter, and there's areas where the metal is bare, where you can touch the terminal and put your meter on those and check your voltage. See if it's going in and going out. Because here is also a little circuit board. This says J12. So J12 has its own little circuitry, and and it also has a little plug itself. So that's the travel of your path, and then here's your background illumination. You can see there's the terminals are fairly visible, and you can put your meters on that and check the voltage and see if you're getting voltage. If you're getting voltage down low, but you're not getting voltage here, then there could be a break in the wires through here. So you might want to do a continuity check between your wires here and wires going down. On your M3 and M5 models, the cover comes right off, but to access the wires, you're still going to have to take another cover off, and it's got two screws on the front and then two on the side. If you tilt your tower, you can have access to the screws up here. And then you can take this cover off. And once you have taken this cover off, you have access to another connector. You pull this heat shield off, you have access to the brown and red wire once again, and you can find a little spot at the terminals where the metal is showing, and you can put your meter on those 2 points. And check your voltage there. Now, this voltage coming down from here is not going to be 5 volts. It's probably going to be 3 volts. And the highest it's going to be is 3 volts. And when the rheostat is turned down all the way, it's going to be 2.5. This is on your tower. It's not going to be sending up 5 volts. It's going to be sending a lower voltage. So when your rheostat is low, all the way turned down, it's going to be about 2.5. When it's all the way high, it's only going to be 3. It's not going to be 5. But you should be getting voltage. So if you're getting voltage there, then you keep going up straight. On the tower, you have 2 screws on top to remove the cap. And then you have access to the same wires, brown and red, and they're going to the LED unit up here. So you can also check your voltage here. You might want to do this early on to see, hey, am I getting voltage here? And go backwards. So whatever way you're led to check it, but there's little access points in there where you can get your meter on there and check the voltage. And if you're getting the voltage there, 2.5 to 3 volts, and it's still not coming on, then the issue might be with this LED unit. But if you were getting voltage down here, but you weren't getting voltage up here, then you might have an open in this cable going all the way down. And that's going to be fun to get to because you have a lot of covers. You have to get to that wire. There's this cover you just take off. There's 4 screws here, 2 on each side, and 1 there, 1 here, and on the same side to take this cover off. And the cable travels behind this cover. There's 4 screws here. You've got to take that cover off and be careful if you're doing this to your screws. It's screwing into a round surface, so you're not going to be screwing in straight in. You're going to be screwing in at an angle. So you have to think about it. Watch how it comes out, and then use the same angle of screwing the screws back in because they're very small and delicate screws, and you don't want to mess up those threads if you want to put that cover back on. And then the cable passes through there, and then it turns and it goes down this tube. Goes down this tube, and then it turns, and then you have to take this cover off. There's 2 screws here, and you can see here's the cable. So that's the route. It goes from there, behind this cover, and then behind this cover, it turns, goes through this tube, and it turns again and goes up this cover, behind this cover, and it goes behind this cover, and then it goes through your upper portion of your illumination assembly. So this is metal, and you can't really pull the cable through. You're going to have to de-pin the cable, or you might consider, if you're going to have to replace it, is cut it at some point and solder it somewhere where it's going to be hidden behind one of the covers, and just cut it and pull it through, because you're not going to get this terminal connector through these small holes. And one thing about these holes is they allow air and dust to go in, so you could get some dust, be getting dust on your filters and diaphragms. So that's one thing about this design. So those are some basic access points when you don't have light coming on. And just use your meter and either go check your obvious things and go to the less obvious and use your meter at DC. Everything is going to be DC voltage except the electrical source. That's going to be AC. So just in conclusion, remember you're looking for 5 volts going in, and these 2 points you can check with your meter to see if you've got 5 volts there. And over here on J5 you can check these 2 points to see if you've got 5 volts there. And for your tower cap voltage, when you're measuring it, it should be between 2.5 to 3 volts, depending on where your rheostat is at. And here's just a little diagram of the covers you want to take off to access your cables. And the top. Maybe I should have started with this area underneath the top and underneath the chin rest. Due to the design of hiding the cables underneath and through the slit lamp arm, sometimes these cables can get severed. So even though you're getting a green light, because maybe in installation or something a wire could have gotten cut there, or going through the top, or coming through the chin rest where it rests on the top. There's a lot of vulnerability areas where a cable can get cut. Something you might want to do is, if this is exposed, is cut a piece of tape and put it right over that vulnerable spot so the cable doesn't fall down and slide and get cut while you're moving the chin rest around. So you might want to verify that you're getting voltages, and if you're not getting your voltage, it could be because this cable is cut, and you can either replace it or find where it's cut and splice it and reconnect, solder your cable. There's various options, but this is probably an important area to verify that none of your cables are cut underneath.